Tonight, boys and girls, I want you to watch this video about how you can add slow motion to your writing stories. And tomorrow, when you come to class, we will spend more time writing our stories and less time learning this lesson. So I want you to sit back, relax, and just listen. And if you have any questions, we can talk about them when we start our lesson tomorrow. But I want you to pay attention to how you can slow down your stories and add more details into your writing so that you create slow motion. We know that Hollywood created slow motion many years ago. They knew that things were just happening too fast, and they wanted the people that were viewing their movies to really be able to see the specific details. And that's kind of how we are as writers. When we're writing stories, we want people to be able to see the exact same story that we're picturing in our head when they read the words on our page. When a cameraman's shooting a movie, such as The Sound of Music, this scene reminds me where she's dancing up on the hill, what's actually happening is that the camera is taking lots and lots of small pictures. So they're not recording the actual event. The camera is snipping picture as the character moves. And we've all seen flip books or made flip books in the past. And what's fun is when you move that film fast and at a speed, you see those pictures showing the movement. So that's how movies are made. You actually have to think about a little math when you are envisioning how they take these pictures and turn them back into a movie to show the movement. So for instance, they might take 10 pictures of a scene, and that might just be when the character is up there on the hill and she's dancing around. So when they replay those pictures at the speed of 1 second, that's what shows the movement. Now, in order to create the slow motion effect, and this seems kind of confusing to me, but I'm not a film person, but they say that you still play the film over the same period of time, except you have to take more pictures. So in the last picture, we saw that they just took 10 pictures and showed them at 1 second, and that was regular speed. But in order to create that slow motion effect, they take a lot more pictures, and then it makes the character move slower through that time period. Like I said, it's a little confusing to me. I'm not a film person, but I am a writer, and that makes perfect sense to me when you think about writing. When you only have a few details in your story, a few sentences in your story, you're not providing enough information to let that story to let that reader create a visualization, a picture in their head of what's happening in your story. The more details you have, the better their picture becomes. Here is a sentence or two I wrote that could explain my Christmas holidays. Growing up, we spent each year going to Santa on the Bayou. It was a fun way to celebrate the Christmas holiday. As you can see, there are 2 sentences there. There are very few details, and so I'm not providing enough information to you to make those pictures in your head. So there's a way that I can go about this. I can think to myself, what does my reader need to know in order to picture more? They probably need to know what Santa on the Bayou is. Maybe when this celebration happens, where it happens, and what it looks like to somebody looking in at this celebration. So here, look at how I've changed this. Take a moment, you can pause the screen and you can read this information here about Santa on the Bayou. In this information, I've provided lots of background information here so that you could really be able to picture what this event is like in your head. I've provided information about where it takes place and when it takes place, and gone into detail and painted scenes for you. This is providing that elaboration so that you can take this event and slow it down and really be able to picture and understand what I'm saying. Tomorrow, we're going to be looking at our Texas newspapers that we've been writing. And what I noticed just by looking over some of your stories and providing some revision notes to you is that we're kind of zooming through these events really, really fast. We haven't provided enough snapshots of the event to paint a picture in our reader's head. So when you're telling your story about the Battle of the Alamo, we haven't given the reader facts to know, well, why was this battle happening and what had happened right before it as to why they were there in San Antonio at the Alamo, and what was it like when, how many of the Texan soldiers were in there, and what were they seeing when they looked over the walls of the Alamo? How long did the battle occur? What were the messages that were being sent from Santa Ana? What was the reaction from the other Texas settlers when they heard the news of the outcome of the battle? So these are the details that I feel that we're lacking because we're kind of just moving through this scene way too fast. So tomorrow we're going to look back over it and we're going to make sure that we're providing enough information in our story so that our readers have a very clear picture in their minds. And we want to tell it to them using slow motion so that they're not missing anything, so that they really have this great picture in their head of the event that you're telling them about. Tonight's password is slow motion. Here's a challenge for you. You guys know which topics you're writing about in your Texas newspaper. Maybe tonight you want to go online with your parents and find out just a tad bit information about a battle or about a person. Then you could use that tomorrow in your writing along with all the notes you have in your interactive notebook. So we also have the social studies books on the shelf, so if you want to grab one of those in the morning and read up about your event, you're more than welcome to grab one of those. But you want to have lots of extra details that you can provide to make these stories become a true picture in our heads.